بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So we've all seen this contact sport playing out online over the situation in Afghanistan. And apparently, if a person has the feeling that, maybe, just maybe, they're hopeful that things might turn out well, and that means that they're hoping that despite the past apparent atrocities of the Taliban, that hoping for them to do well now is somehow akin to leaving Islam. So, you will hear people that they just start going off and practically takfiring people, takfiring the Taliban as if, they aren't Muslims. And what this really, to me, reveals is how not only psychologically traumatized a lot of our community is, but going back to that same topic that we don't own our own arguments. And what I mean by this is that for those of us that look at the situation and say, wow, well, it is what it is, and we are hoping that the Taliban can do something good despite their previous track record. Perhaps they learned from what they did before. Perhaps they have learned a lesson that this time around, inshallah, things would be better. That doesn't necessarily mean that we excuse their past grievances, past mistakes, or things that they did wrong or were atrocious. But, what are the alternatives? Not to hope for the best, not to make dua. To me, this seems ridiculous. And so for those that are, just kind of firebombing people's arguments that are hoping for the best, reveals actually a lot about them living here in America and living in the West. And what I mean that is that it seems that if somebody or some group in the Muslim world does something wrong, does something even evil, right? Let's not pretend that Muslims also don't do evil things. Then they are beyond the pale of redemption. And yet this country, as we often like to say, which was founded on massive brutalities against the indigenous population, against the Africans and their descendants that were brought here, continued to visit on various other groups, Asian groups and whatnot. And yet it seems that America, in the psyche of the colonized Muslim, is always worthy of redemption, or that whatever evils that were done can be explained away as unfortunate and accidental, but are never quintessential to the character of America. And I'm not arguing that they are. What I'm saying is, wow, it's okay.
It's getting crashed.
It's just getting crashed right now.
Your package will be up in a minute.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
The fact that they can always find a way to excuse the things that America has done wrong, or to lower it on the scale, or to the extent that despite those atrocities that this country has visited, or even just what Europeans have done to Muslims, Muslims still have no problem emigrating and living amongst Europeans who have clearly demonstrated animosity against them, have committed atrocities against them, and yet will not even flinch about the idea of going and living amongst them, living in their countries, living in their societies. But the same discretion, the same attitude is never offered towards the Muslims. And to me, this demonstrates how many Muslims think of themselves, and also the kind of absurd frameworks that the Muslims applied not only to themselves, right, as if, I mean, we're people, we do things wrong, we do things that are evil. Why can we not hope for a second best chance? And yet, on the reverse, non-Muslims are somehow inherently better, even when they have a rap sheet and a historical record of brutalities and atrocities, right, a mile long. That can kind of be swept under the rug. And so it's once again, we have another issue, we have another dramatic scene in which, instead of there being a moment of unity amongst Muslims, it's actually another opportunity for disunity, for people to tear each other apart. I mean, it's really disappointing to see this, but it is highly revealing of just how colonized the Muslim psyche and mind is, and how we construct worth, how we see ourselves, how we don't see ourselves. And of course, I say we with, I am blessed, I guess in some ways, to not be a part of that historical legacy, right? I mean, I became Muslim 30 years ago, so I don't come from the historical legacy. And while I appreciate the difficulties that come along with that, I can't ignore them. So it's a blessing to be able to have certain kinds of insights, and I'm hoping that there will be an opportunity for us to reflect more on why are we so hard on ourselves. I mean, one great example, and I'll try to put a link in the description box or whatever, is that Dr. Sherman Jackson wrote a book, I think a few years ago, that kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. People read his Black American Islam, The Third Resurrection. Thank you, Gina. They read his Sufi for non-Sufis, right? But he wrote a book about the Jama'a Islamiyya, right? The group in Egypt that during the time of Gamal Nasser and whatnot, that yes, they committed some horrific crimes in the name of Islam. And what's interesting is you see them after these guys were rounded up and locked up, and some people were executed and other people were put in jail, and that after these guys had a time to sit and marinate in jail and think about the reality of what it was that they did, many of them not only repented earnestly, but then they went on to write in great detail about the wrongness of what they did, and that if they had another chance, how they would do it different, such to where when you had Al-Qaeda with, bin Laden, they wrote to him saying, like, look, this is not the way to do it. We were wrong. What we did was wrong. Our methodology was wrong. Yes, we cared, and I think that's the beautiful part. Like, they cared, but just their methodology was wrong. And I'm not making light of those mistakes that lead to the loss of human life. That's enormous. But yet, why is it that this country that could just make a whole entire nation of indigenous people disappear, that could enslave millions of people, that could do all of these things, that could, go to Vietnam and kill untold numbers of people over a false pretense, that could invade Iraq over a false pretense and kill uncountable numbers of people, and yet, we have no problem coming to America, continuing to live in America. America always has some potential redemption, and yet within the Muslim world, there's no chance of redemption. So anyway, my food is getting cold. Just some food for thought. I hope that folks will take a breather and really think about how they're constructing these frameworks that in the end are actually quite detrimental to our future. And I'll put it out there. May Allah Ta'ala guide the Taliban, because they are the ones who are in power now. May Allah guide them, and going forward, grant them success. May Allah bless the people of Afghanistan, have mercy upon them, guide them, lead them, and protect them, inshallah, and give them what's best in this life and in the next. وصلوات الله على نبيه الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.